Freitas from Azores Travel and Genealogy. Now, have you researched an ancestor and wondered, how do you say that name? Or were you wondering if it's pronounced like they do in Brazil or in the Spanish language? Normally, I would say to somebody, just Google it. Go check out Google Translate. You see, many of the apps and online websites only have Portuguese from Brazil and maybe mainland. Why is that? Well, there's a lot of people in Brazil that speak the Portuguese language. However, you'll find that some of those words are different in Brazil. In addition, the accents and the slang could be different as well. In this series, I have a video on first names of females, separate video about religious names, another on first names for males, and finally last names. I have a variety of easy, moderate, and tough names. Some of the names may be common, while others you don't see very often, but maybe you want to know how to say them. Although I don't have every single name there is, I did put together a good selection of names for you to hear as well as see. Each one of the names is going to be presented in text so you can see if there's any possible accent marks, as well as my friend's going to say it so you can see how he says the words. So am I doing the pronunciation? Well, as you just heard a minute ago, no, I am not. I was born and raised in the US. I'm clearly not the best person to be doing that. Instead, I have a friend who's a native speaker. He by far is more qualified than I am to pronounce the names. My friend Manuel, he's from mainland or continental Portugal. However, he's been living on the island of Flores, which is in the Azores, for some time now. Will I say the names in English first and then have him say it in Portuguese? Nope, I'm not going to do that because, truth be said, there's many different types of English in which some are pronounced also differently. I want this video to be more about how to say the Portuguese names like they do in the Azores. I'll include some English translations on some of the words depending on the name, because not all of them can translate over. This introduction and short ending will be on every video, and so if you want to skip it in the next video, just check the description below and I'll have the different times for each section of the video. That way you can fast forward and go straight to the names as well as information about them. Please keep in mind that, like the US, there can be slight differences with pronouncing the names between the islands. So this video is going to have general island pronunciations. All right, now it's time to get started. I'm going to switch over to Zoom and you will see the name on the screen and my friend, Manuel. And what he'll do is he'll say the names twice. In addition, he'll be giving some information throughout the video as needed. All right, we're going to go ahead and start with the religious names. And but before we start with that, of course, how do you say your name?
Yeah, my name is Manuel, my given name. Manuel Menezes de Sequeira is the name I use. Manuel Pinto da Silva Menezes de Sequeira, my full name.
Very nice.
Yeah,
Now you're from mainland, right?
Yeah, I was born in Lisbon, raised in Cascais, 30 kilometers west of Lisbon. So, yeah, my accent is a continental one, not exactly Azorean one. But if you compare them both with Brazil, it's quite different. And also the accents within the Azores do vary, right? They are all not too different comparing with Brazilian, for instance, if you are talking about most of the islands, but if you come to São Miguel, that's a different story. That's quite a different accent, and people from the mainland very often don't understand it. They have to get used to it for quite some time before starting to understand it. So
and
yeah,
how is that different?
In the case of São Miguel, I wouldn't be able to describe it. But well, maybe it's closed in a sense. It sounds a little bit more like French in a way, the way it's the accent, not the words, of course, because it's still Portuguese, of course, but the way it sounds, it's a bit like that.
All right, so we're going to go ahead and get started with the religious names. And of course, you'll notice a lot of them have Maria at the beginning of them. And that's because we want to continue with that flow. And that name is used quite a bit with these. So I'm going to go ahead and have Manuel start with those.
Maria do Céu, Maria do Céu. Maria da Conceição, Maria da Conceição. Maria do Coração de Jesus, Maria do Coração de Jesus. Maria da Glória, Maria da Glória. Maria do Nascimento, Maria do Nascimento. Maria da Pureza, Maria da Pureza. Maria do Rosário, Maria do Rosário. Maria do Sacramento, Maria do Sacramento. Maria dos Santos, Maria dos Santos. Maria de São João, Maria de São João. Maria de São José, Maria de São José. Maria da Trindade, Maria da Trindade. Maria dos Anjos, Maria dos Anjos. Maria da Encarnação, Maria da Encarnação. Maria da Ascensão, Maria da Ascensão. It's probably worth saying that I'm pronouncing these names in a single flow. I'm not trying to separate the words from one another because that's the way you say them, right? If I separated them, it would be clearer, but it's important that they sound as they usually sound, right? So for instance, in the last example, Maria da Ascensão, if I separate very, very clearly the words, it's Maria da Ascensão. But we say it Maria da Ascensão. So we even unite the da with Ascensão and open the A instead of da Ascensão is da Ascensão. So it's a bit weird, but it's what happens with Portuguese, this kind of contractions of words and the vowels changing a little bit whether they are open or closed. So I said them in a single flow, so they would sound as if you would hear them from anybody else during a conversation.
And I noticed that certain words you kind of dropped the vowel at the end, or certain letters were kind of combined, like OS and Santos. Is that right?
Yeah, it's Santos. Yeah, you know, as a native speaker, sometimes I'm not really aware of what's happening, you know, because I don't pay much attention to the way I speak. But yeah, so Maria dos Santos. Very often the O in the end of the words in Portuguese, and sometimes also in the middle of the word, it sounds like U, a bit like in English, two O's together, like in book, right? So it's Maria dos Santos. And this S in the end never sounds like the S in English. It's a Santos. It's a kind of a sh sound, right? Santos. It's like a J without the part of the J. It's just J, Santos, right? Weirdly enough, if the S is in a different place of the word, it's not exactly the same sound, like in Nascimento. In this case, it's more like sh instead of j. But it's
that
always
surprised me. I wasn't expecting that one.
Yeah, it's Nascimento, more like sh. And Santos, this sh and j. It's a bit different. If you listen carefully, my hometown, for instance, is Cascais, and you can understand that the first sh is different from the last, Cascais, which sounds a bit more j than sh.
Yeah.
But why it is like this, I don't know. It's just the way it is, right? Probably the result of a long evolution from different sounds, just like English or any other language. Sacramento, I think in this case it's clear. Santos, yeah, they are all there. It's just that the ush is very fast, but it's there. It's Santos. If I had to separate into different syllables, it would be Santos, right? But we say it fast, and so the last syllable is really short. Santos.
That and what else is interesting is José, because in Spanish it's Jose, very different. And I think that's a common mistake that people make.
Exactly. Well, Portuguese is not Spanish. Spanish has its own difficulties. It's much easier when we are talking about vowels, for instance, because in Spanish there are basically 5 vowels. A, E, I, O, U. In Portuguese, no. The A may sound like A, the E may sound like E. The I always sounds E. The O can be O, U. The U is always U. And then you have the nasal sounds, which are the most difficult for those that aren't born into this, I guess, like Conceição, right? It's a nasal sound because you say it through your nose in the end. It's if you try to imagine a word ending in an English word ending in 2 O's and an M, think about the word cão. Cão is C-A tilde O. So think about an English word that would be C-A and then double O-M, right? So let's say the initial part would be K, right? C-A. A bit different from English, but you understand the A sounds a bit like the A in English, at least in some words. And now you have right? But you say with your mouth. Try to close your mouth in the end and say it through your nose, and it's cão, right? You have to throw the air out, not totally, but slightly in the end through your nose, and it sounds right? We have other.
You put your tongue on the roof of your mouth. Kind of.
No,
when you make that sound, you know.
No, you just close your mouth. Close your mouth and let the remaining air that comes out with the last sound come through your nose. Yeah. You see that in the end, I have my mouth shut, right? Cão. It's not m, where you open it, right? Cão. It's cão. You close it. You say it through your nose. Okay, but those are the hardest parts. It's always the nasal sounds in Portuguese. The rest, yeah, there are different vowels, but not difficult to say, just difficult to remember and difficult to figure out which of the different vowel sounds occurs in each word. So sometimes it's sometimes it's sometimes it's sometimes it's sometimes it's and it's not immediately clear. There are some rules that I might say. For instance, Rosário, it has that little symbol over the A, right? An acute accent, and so it's always open. It's always a. If it didn't have it, it would be Rosário, so it would be closed, and the stress of the word would change. So instead of being Rosário, it would be Rosário.
Very R's aren't like R's. They're almost like an H.
Yeah, Rosário. So we say with a single R is different from 2 R's. Car in Portuguese is carro. In that case, it's very strong. It's carro, right? But if it's a single R, it's different, right? So in case of Pureza, for instance, is pur. It's quite soft, Pureza.
I think the R's threw me off because I wasn't expecting that. And then when I saw what I thought was Jose, because my second language is Spanish.
Yeah.
I just thought it was Jose, but it's not.
About that. Yeah, true. Yeah. No, the J's are just like regular J's. The difference between Portuguese and English is that in English you always say this sort of a D before the J, so it's J, right? J. If you want to say that in Portuguese, you have to put the D before the J, because the J is always sounds simply J, the end of J, right? J. G before a vowel such as E or I sounds exactly the same as a J. So a G before E or I or a J always sounds J, which is a bit like English, but without the initial J, right? Without that initial D.
Again, thank you, Manuel. We'll of course see you in the next video. Now, were you surprised by how something was said in the video? Be sure to put it in the comments below.